What's up, everybody, and welcome to The Horror Within Me, a podcast dedicated to the world of horror. I am your host, Eric, and each week I'm going to rate and review a new movie or TV show that falls within the horror genre. Now, this is a show for horror fans, hosted by a horror fan, who's just here to share my opinions and experiences with my fellow horror friends in hopes that you may gain something new to watch or not watch, and really just talk about all things related to this beautifully dark and spooky world that we call horror. So if this sounds like a show for you, stick around, we're going to have a lot of fun. So let's get started. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of The Horror Within Me. This is the first episode of Season 2 of The Horror Within Me, and I'm so freaking excited to have a brand new season coming out now and starting up again after what's been 2.5 months of almost silence on this show. And probably if there's any listeners out there who are fans that listened every week, probably thought that it was just over and that I just had given up. And to be honest, at one point, that was a thought that had crossed my mind. It wasn't a decision, but it was a thought that had crossed my mind, dealing with what I was dealing with. And for those of you who follow me on social media, especially on TikTok, I gave a very, very brief, just why I hadn't been making any new shows and episodes. So I would like to just touch base and start off strong with that before we get into the fun of it all, and before we start off the real big fun content of season 2, the first, movie that we're going to do for this episode. I want to just touch base a little bit and get a little bit personal, because that was what this show was about in the beginning. And to be very honest, I think I got a little caught up in the content creators world of other people and starting to measure myself against them, and realizing now, after being away from it, what I do this for. I am not doing this. What is the reason that I do this? I do this because I'm a horror fan. I do this because I love horror. And I don't need other people telling me that I am a wrong type of horror fan because I don't, I never saw, fucking Salem's Lot or whatever the case may be, or if I really, like certain things. I tried to establish like a weird brand when I am the brand. The horror within me is Eric. Eric is the horror within me. I don't need to try to separate and separate my show from my socials, and everything is just me, and the horror within me is what I have been through in life, and my love for horror and the creative ways that I choose to do that, whether it's through this podcast, through my TikToks or Twitter or Twitch, whatever I choose to do, the movies, the games, the shows, the clothes, everything that I do, and how I choose to artistically express myself to deal with the things that I've dealt with or enjoy the things that I like, is uniquely my perspective. And I hope to meet fun, friendly, positive people along the way. But the point is, I got a little lost on why I was doing this, and I was trying to find and analyze what was happening on why I wasn't doing so well or doing, other things. And I realized like that's not what I'm in this for. And I needed to really understand that. So that was part of the journey of the of how I started deciding to do season 2. But the other part was that my husband got very sick suddenly with viral meningitis. And that took precedent. That took priority. And that is the number one reason that the show stopped the way that it stopped, and that there was very silent, because I had to put that first. He was unconscious for a week and hospitalized for 3. And I had to be his biggest advocate, and I was. And thankfully, he's going to make a full recovery, and he's home, and he's doing much better now. It's going to be a long road, but he's much better than where he was. And I feel comfortable enough to be able to give myself time to come back to the show that I love to do and create the content that I like to create and connect with the people that I like to connect with. And that's where the reasoning behind season 2 came, because not only like the evolution of the show, but the evolution of just me in general, realizing like the type of podcast I want to do as opposed to the type of TikToker I want to be or type of person on Twitter. Like, this is just me. I'm going to just be unapologetically me and hopefully meet some cool people. And if you are listening or following me on anything and you just don't agree or you don't like me and you don't find it entertaining, do me a favor. Just stay silent and go on and find something that you do like, and don't be negative, because it's just I see so many people that start to make friends or make followers on things, and then they have these other people that are just very negative. Don't I would appreciate if you didn't do that, but I mean, I clap back, just FYI. But season 2, The Horror Within Me, is really to just kind of divide the the evolution of season 1 and where it started to where it ended. This podcast is a review podcast, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to still have co-hosts and interview episodes. But the majority of the reason that I do this show is to do fun horror movie reviews that are fun for me in a way that I can share it with you all, which is being sarcastic and finding a movie that I liked and looking at what other people said about it, poking fun at it, or and picking ones that I agree with or don't agree with, and then giving my own final review. That's really what I like to do on this show, and I really hope that you like that. And if you do, thanks for sticking around. I really, really, really appreciate it. So that is my ramble of this part of the show, but I'm very excited because the first episode that I have chosen to do for season 2, which you already know because it's in the name, if you clicked on this episode to listen to, is Evil Dead Rise. Now, I'm going to give a little disclaimer. We're going to jump into it. Little thing about Evil Dead Rise. I just want to be very honest with the horror community. I did not watch the Evil Dead franchise. The only Evil Dead movie I'd ever seen was the 2013 remake, and I've only seen it one time. So my memory of that back in 2013, 10 years ago, I was drinking all the time back then. So, little foggy. Probably don't remember. Probably was drinking when I watched it. So the memory of it is not the best, but I would love to revisit that. But I wanted to see this because I wasn't, it looked interesting. I kept seeing the trailers when I was going to the movies. So Evil Dead Rise, I was very excited about it, and I really was excited about the line in the movie that Ellie, the mother, says when she's a deadite. It says, "Mommy's with the maggots now." I bought this shirt from Fright Rags, I believe. I'm so sorry if it's not the company. I get my my horror merchandise companies confused sometimes, but I love the shirt because I have a sick sense of humor, which you all know already. So I like that because I felt it was a weird way of. So my mom was a horror fan and had a creepy sense of humor, just like me, and she's passed on. So it was my weird sick joke of like, my mommy's with the maggots now too. Like, I know that's probably dark, but that's just what I am. But I got the shirt. I love the fucking shirt. So we're gonna see if I love the movie. It seems on the internet, on the socials, on TikTok and Twitter and Facebook groups that I'm involved in, is that especially now I'm seeing it pop back up because it just hit. It just got released on like 4K and streaming on Max. So I see more opinions popping back up again of the movie that people didn't go see it in the theaters or rent it when it was able to be rented are thinking about it. And it seems to be a divisive movie again. Either you loved it or you hate it. So I was like, okay, I want to do a review on it because I watched it and I was excited about it. I also want to do a review on it because the whole point of this show is to pick the top 3 top 3 worst reviews and top 3 best reviews for a movie. And if it's such a divide, I'm so curious to find like certain reviews to share with you guys that I thought were pretty funny. So before we do that, we're going to start with what we always start with, which is synopsis, who starred in it, the release date, all that fun stuff. So here it comes. Season 2, episode 49, Evil Dead Rise. And the synopsis goes as follows. A twisted tale of 2 estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons thrusting them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. The movie really puts an emphasis on family, obviously. The mother, she's got 3 children, the sister's coming to visit. Evil Dead Rise is starring Alyssa Sutherland as Ellie, Lily Sullivan as Beth, Gabrielle Eccles as Bridget, Morgan Davies as Danny, and Nell Fisher as Cassie. Cassie. Now, fun fact, Alyssa Sutherland is going to be at Monster Mania Con 20th anniversary in August in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I will be in attendance. I'm very excited. I will see how long her line is, if I can get in to get an autograph and a photo. That would be super cool. And little sidebar real quick, they just released another guest announcement yesterday, who is Heather Langenkamp, no other than Nancy Thompson herself. I am ecstatic about it. I can't freaking wait. I am obsessed with that character, and she was amazing and somebody I grew up with, and I would just love to have the chance to meet her and have a picture with her. And also, just it's just so cool. So I will be going there that weekend. I'm very excited. Back to the show. Evil Dead Rise was released April 21st, 2023. Directed by Lee Cronin, produced by Rob Tapert, written by Lee Cronin. It has a rated R rating, a runtime of 1 hour and 36 minutes. It is considered in the horror genre. Duh. Tagline is "Mommy loves you to death." Has an IMDb rating of 6.7 out of 10, a tomato meter rating of 83%, and an audience score of 76%. Now let's just break down what we just discussed for a second. So I want to go back to the tagline, "Mommy loves you to death." What a sick thing. It's like evil Mommy Dearest. Like Mommy Dearest is already evil, but like demon Mommy Dearest, real demon Mommy Dearest. It was very shocking. I love the tagline. I think that it's just like they missed the mark on posting this or releasing this movie Mother's Day weekend. They should have just went for it. I don't know what was released Mother's Day weekend, if they were competing with anything, but I really think it should have been released Mother's Day weekend. The IMDb rating, I'm not shocked by. I am shocked by the Rotten Tomatoes rating, that the tomato meter had a higher percentage than the audience score, just because usually what we see on this show when we are doing reviews is that it's usually reversed. Usually the audience scores a little bit higher than the tomato meter, unless it's like a really, 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 really terrible movie where everyone just fucking hated it. And they're both just shot down in percentages, like 2% milk. I don't know. But I was a little surprised by that. But anyway, it's time for that part in the show where we're going to ask a question and give an answer at the end of the show. And if you've been listening, you know what's about to happen. And if you're brand new, you're just jumping on to this first or second season of the show, it is time for Terrifying Trivia. This week's Terrifying Trivia question is based on the Evil Dead, based within the Evil Dead universe. And the question is, how many Necronomicon books are there in the Evil Dead universe? I thought that was a really good question for someone who hasn't really seen Evil Dead. Maybe it's a super easy question. If it's something that's always talked about in Evil Dead, let me know in the comments. But the question again was, how many Necronomicon books are there in the Evil Dead universe? Stick around to the end of this episode to find out. All right. Next part of the show is the bulk of it, is the reason that you are here. Well, not the reason that you're here, but it's the reason I'm here, is to discuss. God, I haven't done a podcast in fucking 3 months and I can't speak still. Take voice lessons. Time to do the top 3 best reviews of Evil Dead Rise on IMDb. Let's get started. So the first review we got here is titled, "As a Horror Movie Fan, This." I don't know if it was cut off. I don't know if that's it. That's all that I could find. That's it. This. No caps, no exclamation, no punctuation at the end of it at all. That's the title. Here's the review. This is something I haven't seen in years. It's exactly what a die-hard horror movie fan needs. The Exorcist, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, just without the priests. This movie deserves all the hype. I didn't experience this type of scary in a very, very long time. It keeps you on the edge of your seat and makes you want to look away till you just want to get out of the theater and go home. Highly recommend. Just be prepared to take it home with you. Haha. Haha. If you're just looking for a horror movie to watch and you aren't used to it, be careful because this movie is just insane in every way possible. Let's talk about this review real quick. Okay. It's a great review. It's a good review for the movie. What I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say is completely, if you haven't seen it, The Exorcist and the Exorcism of Emily Rose, just without the priest, is false. I don't get that at all. I understand it's possession, but it is nothing. There's nothing else. There's nothing that ties those movies together. Emily Rose and Regan aren't running around with cheese graters and knives and crazy fucking things. Like, they're not doing that. Very not those movies. So if you are fans of The Exorcist and fans of The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and you think that you're going to go watch Evil Dead Rise because it's going to be similar, that is false. I'm going to tell you now, that is not correct. Sorry to this reviewer. You did a good review, but you gave false pretense. It's not anything like that. Anyway, other than that, I think I agree that this is what a die-hard horror movie fan needs. In a way, I think that it's, I don't know what they mean by it's not, if you're not used to it, be careful. It's just insane in every way possible. I feel like although I haven't seen Evil Dead, I've talked to a lot of people that have talked about it. I feel like it's similar to a lot of the Evil Dead movies. I feel like if you are a fan of Evil Dead or not going into it, I don't think it's anything that's like shocking. It's not the sadness where you're like, that was shocking and you weren't prepared for that. I don't think it's that. I think this person was very excited about the movie and that they weren't prepared for that. But I think like it's a great review and they deserve to give a review. But I don't know if they understood the assignment a little bit. But anyway, let's go on to the second. Titled Horror Galore! Exclamation point. See, this person has an exclamation point in the title. Good job. Here's the review. There's a little bit of that classic comedy of the original Evil Dead franchise, which only fans will get as intentional. Yet it's very haunting and gory and goddamn daring at best. And the sound is amazing. The editing is amazing. The acting is well directed. The colors pop out really well. People having a laugh will eventually either find themselves shutting up in awe or disgust towards the large part of the climax and won't be able to digest it whole, or cheering and mouthing engrossingly. This movie has the right balance of serious and funny, which is quite rare for any movie to get right. Best horror movie theater experience I had in a very long while. I hope they explore more into the lore with sequels. Ooh, goddamn, that was a lot to read. Oh my god. No. I think this was a good review. I agree that it's got comedy and horror. I can't say of the original franchise because again, I haven't watched the original franchise, which I heard they're all streaming on Max now, so I'm going to want to go watch them while I have the opportunity, and you should too if you have not, or if you just want to watch them again for not paying a rental fee if you are Max. That's where they are. But anyway, haunting and gory. I love the line. It's very haunting and gory and goddamn daring at best. This is my goddamn daring. That's what I'm going to start saying to people. Oh my God, that was goddamn daring. Sound is amazing. I mean, I didn't see it in theaters, but my sound system in my home is still nice, and I thought it did pretty good. Colors pop really well. Yeah. I didn't laugh. I didn't laugh in the movie. It keeps saying like people laughing will stop laughing at some point. Like I couldn't find really any of the comedy, but that's probably a preference on my end. I don't know if maybe you thought it was funny. Somebody tell me what parts they laughed at that were supposed to be laughed at, not those weird people that like me that'll see something you're not supposed to laugh at and then you laugh at it and people look at you like you're a fucking psychopath. Not those parts. Those parts we'll keep to ourselves or in a private group somewhere. But very good review. I don't have a lot I can say about it because it seems like a big movie theater experience. It's also very talks about the other franchise. Aside from like, I do think the editing and the acting is well directed, and I agree with all of that. Great review, thank you, thank you. On to the last best review for Evil Dead Rise on IMDb is titled "Most reviewers are missing the point." ... And the review is, "It's Evil Dead. It doesn't matter if it's written or directed by Sam Raimi. It's still Evil Dead. Necronomicon, blood, chainsaws, shotguns, Dead by Dawn Evil Dead. People writing reviews about plot? What? Again, I say to them, it's Evil Dead. It's a gory bloodbath, and this time they added kids, which made it somehow gorier, more disturbing, and, wait for it, perfect Evil Dead. I was going to leave it there, but apparently the review was too short. So I will add this. If I could find one fault with it, it could have fleshed out the neighbors more, gave them a better story than making them just look like extras." I hope you guys enjoyed my performance of reading. I felt like I read this review the way it was intended to be read, in the voice of the writer. I will take my Oscar now, or at least my Chainsaw Award. I won a Chainsaw Award. Anyway, sorry. I digress. I love this fucking review. This person is passionate. Exclamation points, capital letters, all caps. That is what I want in a review. I want to see the passion. If you like it, show me the passion. Don't just write some boring history thing or some weird review. I want to see you standing fucking strong on why you loved it and fuck why they don't. Go hard or go home, right? I love this review. It's just so fun. That's all I really had to say about it. It's just so much fun. And I will say that I do agree. Where is it? I thought it was a strange thing to say that they only could find the fault was in the neighbors. I agree the neighbors did feel like just extras. Like I could have had a role on that and been killed as a neighbor, and I would have enjoyed it. I mean, come on now. Who wouldn't? That's probably what happened. They did probably just have extras as the neighbors. But anyway, it was still fun. I don't know if I needed a better story for the neighbors because they are just disposable characters. They weren't meant to be anything more. We knew what that was going to happen to the neighbors. We just already knew. But anyway, that concludes the top 3 best reviews for Evil Dead Rise on IMDb. We're going to now move on to the top 3 worst reviews of Evil Dead Rise on IMDb. And you guys know I'm biased. I like the worst reviews more than I like the best reviews, just because I think it's appalling in the most entertaining way. The shit that comes out of people's mouths when they're behind a keyboard and they don't like something, or they want to make a fucking judgment on something that they have no idea what goes into making something. I think it's so fucking fun, and we have to take our power back with these people that leave these negative comments and reviews because they are fucking trying to rile up and hurt people, and doing things like this, like picking them out of a crowd, putting them on blast, and letting them know how fucking dumb they actually are is so much more fun. So anyway, first of the worst reviews is titled, "What a pile of ... Okay. Are we going to imply what a pile of pure genius? No, probably more of a what a pile of, you know, you know the rest. Here's the review. Awful isn't a good enough word. With a script that appears to be written on the back of a matchbox, this has got to be the worst horror film of the decade. Okay, a bit biased as I am a big fan of the original 1981 Evil Dead from the master Sam Raimi. That was scary and a vision of the future for all horror films to come. Fast forward 42 years and Hollywood puts out this complete insult to the master? Lots of blood and gore and set in the surroundings of an apartment with a cast of 7. You just sit there hoping that all of them will be put out of their misery quicker than the film lasts. Don't waste your time on this junk. You will be extremely disappointed. All right, let's get into it. I love when they tell on themselves. I like what I mean is I'm a bit biased. I'm a big fan of the original 1981 Evil Dead. Okay, so that right there tells me that you are such a diehard fan that you went into Evil Dead Rise ready to tear it apart. You did not go into Evil Dead Rise ready to for it to replace the Evil Dead from 1981 that you were a die-hard fan of. No die-hard fans of a piece of movies or show when another one is being remade go in thinking this is going to replace my love for this movie and I'm going to like it better than that. No, they go in like I'm ready to tear this motherfucker apart. I already know I'm going to hate it. I know they're going to fuck it up. No one's going to do it right and you're wrong. So they're not going to do it the same. They're going to do it differently. Sometimes better, as we see, and I'm going to say it with the Texas Chainsaw 2003 remake. But I'm going to take a guess and say that you didn't have an open mind. You went in there thinking, I'm going to go in there and say why I hated it. I like to be uncomfortable. I like to go to things and do things that I'm not really happy doing. So I'm going to go watch a movie that I probably knew I wasn't going to like anyway. What does that say about you? What does that say about you? Sidebar. The script was written on the back of a matchbox. That's creative. I'll give you that. I never would have thought to say the back of a matchbox. I love when people write reviews and they come up with these fucking weird, like, objects that they choose to use or phrases they choose to use. It's so fun to me. And I'm pile them in the back of my head so that I can use them in the future. I'm going to use. It looks like you wrote you got that off the back of a matchbox. I'm gonna say it. I can't wait. Sorry, I'm rambling. We're gonna move on to the second review, second worst review, which is titled "Just Gore, Blood and Vomits, Storyless, Senseless." That's the title. Like, it's just gore dot 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 blood and vomits dot dot storyless comma senseless dot dot dot. Why does storyless get a comma, but the rest just get dot dot dots? What? Why? Okay, I'm not here to understand it. I'm here to read it. Here's the review. Original Evil Dead movies with Bruce Campbell were so good. The last 2 installments are just for cash grabbing with lots of gore. Story is non existent and not scary at all. Humor is pretty bad. Dialogues are crappy. Sam Raimi should direct the Evil Dead movies in his style, not hand it over to other directors. Don't be fooled with high star rating reviews if you are a fan of original movies. Unfortunately, it is like just another mediocre possession movie, just with good cinematography and more gore. Jump scares were cheap, repetitive, and boring. I didn't expect it to be as good as Sam Raimi direction, but I think I sort of expected it to be better than it was. Direction at times is good scenes, and the overall product is not good. The story was nothing to connect with, or never gave the feeling of scary movie that it should have been. Okay, where to start? Another huge Evil Dead fan. They told themselves off right in the beginning. Like, original Evil Dead movies with Bruce Campbell were so good. The last 2 installments are just for cash grabs. Okay, so that's that. Let's zone in. Last 2, dos, whatever. So you didn't like the one before this. Why'd you watch this one? what was going to be different about it, sir? Or ma'am? Whatever. Uh, just another mediocre possession movie. I like possession movies. I'm not getting this. Like, I get it's a possession, but it does not to me have any of the elements of a fucking classic possession movie or a story. I don't get it. Why do people keep saying this? Anyway, I like that they gave a compliment in the reads, just with good cinematography and more gore. They gave like great cinematography, but the rest was trash. Your review's trash. And we're moving on to the last worst review for Evil Dead Rise on IMDb. Titled, Director Should Be Ashamed. Here's the review. I made an account just to leave a review on this terribly executed, sad excuse for a horror film. I wish I could give it 0 stars as it has no redeeming qualities. Whoever watched this back and still proceeded to greenlight the production is going right to hell. The director should honestly be ashamed to put his name on such garbage. It's a stain on the Evil Dead franchise. The movie started off stupidly and just kept going on, getting worse with every scene. The script had to have been written in a day, and the actors were cast with maybe a week for preparation, as none of them could act. My biggest regret was not watching the trailer. I probably would have saved my money and my time. That was a hard one to get through. Without laughing. What the fuck? Sad excuse for a horror film, and so you were this passionate person. You were so passionate that you saw Evil Dead Rise. Okay, I'm gonna look at the camera. You saw Evil Dead Rise. And just like, I'm gonna fucking pay and create an account on IMDb to leave a review. I'm gonna leave a review. I'm so mad. I can't wait. Maybe it's me. I don't get that passionate about anything. Like, I mean, I get pissed. But I'm not like, fuck it, that's it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to hype myself up. I'm fucking paying money, and I'm going to fucking put my name out there, and I'm going to leave a review, and it's going to be trash, and it's going to stop other people. People are going to, well, I mean, it got on my show. So I hope at least that was your goal, to get on a show listened by 30 people. That's it. You got your small fame. There you go. Whoever proceeded to greenlight this production is going right to hell. They damned the person to hell. Like eternal damnation. Burning in hell for all of eternity because they greenlit Evil Dead Rise. A horror movie. A movie that somebody's artistic expression, somebody's creative expression that they decided to put out there because someone decided that they liked it. This is the problem with you guys. You damn them to hell. You're always damning people to hell. Hell ain't real. But damn it if it is, you're damning people to hell because of a movie. My God. This is the problem. This is the problem. Anyway, also, hell in the review is not even spelled out. It's bleeped. It's edited. It's H*LL. They couldn't even fucking damn the person to hell with the word. It's the full word. They had to edit it like we didn't know what the fuck it was going to say. This review is hilarious and terrifying at the same time. My God. Oh my God. Lastly, my biggest regret was not watching the trailer. Who are you? Who watches a movie without the trailer or reading a synopsis? Are you a movie person? Please, I sometimes will spend an hour going through Hulu and Netflix and Prime and Max and every fucking streaming service that I have, go into their horror sections, look at a movie title, read a synopsis a little bit, and if it's at that point, the title and artwork will catch my attention. The synopsis might catch my attention. And then the third thing that I have to do before I actually commit to watching it is watch the fucking trailer. You paid money to go see and you paid money. You left your home, drove to a theater, or you rented it at home, which still at the time we're paying money. It was like $20. before you watched the trailer, you made a financial commitment to a movie you didn't see a trailer for? That's your dumbass fault. And that's my read for you. And that concludes the top 3 best and worst reviews of Evil Dead Rise on IMDb. Now we're going to get to the part that everyone's really here for, which is what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and my review. So first off, what I liked most about Evil Dead Rise was I felt the movie felt like a horror movie, and I knew what its purpose was. Does that make sense? Because it makes sense in my head. But I don't know if it's going to make sense to you. So what I mean is like the atmosphere, the editing, the camera, the cinematography, the storyline, like I knew it was a horror movie, and I knew that it wasn't going to be like a Midsummer or a fucking Hereditary or anything like that. Like I knew what the purpose of Evil Dead Rise was. And I liked that. I liked that I knew what to expect with this kind of movie. What I liked the least about Evil Dead Rise was the main characters lacked a sense of depth, even though they tried to establish a backstory. So for me, like they just didn't get the actors to me, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like bash anyone's craft, but for me, I just couldn't see the sisterly bonds. I couldn't see the mother-child bonds, the siblings. Like I just felt like it was like a piece, like a layer. They could have gone a little deeper. But that, if I had to pick something, that was my thing. Like it was like I didn't say the acting was bad. I just think that there wasn't enough of a connection between the actors for me. And that was that. Now, before we go on, I've added something just because I think it's kind of fun and I wanted to do something different for season 2. And I've done it once before and I forgot. And now that I have my template, I'm rambling again. I want to do every week when I do a movie or a show is I want to know the number of deaths. I think it's fun. So how many deaths did Evil Dead Rise have? I'll give you a few seconds to take a guess. The answer is 9. Basically, everyone in the film dies except for 2 characters, and that's all I'm going to say. If you've seen it, you know. If you didn't, pick 2 people that you like and hope for the fucking best. But that's something new I wanted to add. So 9 deaths, not a lot. You would think it would be more gory. 9 is not a lot in today's standards for movies like that. But I expect 10 to 12, something like that. Anyway, before we get on to my rating and the final review, it's time to answer this week's terrifying trivia question. So just a refresher, the question was, how many Necronomicon books are there in the Evil Dead universe? And the answer is there are 3 Necronomicon books. Now, obviously, you're probably wondering, how do I know that? Because I looked it up. I wanted to know if there were other books because it was referenced in this or in something that I read. And apparently there are 3. Again, I didn't watch the franchise movies, but it's something I'm going to watch. And I'm curious if that's as like an easy question or if it wasn't. But anyway, that was this week's terrifying trivia question. It's time to get on to my final review and rating. So my rating for Evil Dead Rise, what system we're going to use, we're going to rate it using cheese graters. If you know, you know. And I give Evil Dead Rise a cheese grater rating of 7 out of 10. And here's the final review. As someone who has only seen the 2013 Evil Dead remake once, I was apprehensive to watch this without any real context. But Evil Dead Rise is its own dark, twisted storyline. I appreciated the atmosphere the movie provided. The rundown apartment building felt claustrophobic and dirty, but we understood why our main family was living in it. The relationship between Ellie and Beth lacked a sisterly bond the creators tried to establish, but for a gory horror film, I was okay with that. The kills were fun, the scare factors are there, and Alyssa Sutherland's performance was top-notch. All in all, Evil Dead Rise is a fun, scary, and gory good time. And if you want to know where you can watch Evil Dead Rise, if you haven't been paying attention, Evil Dead Rise is streaming now on Max and is also available on 4K Blu-ray, wherever they sell 4K Blu-rays of Evil Dead Rise. I don't know. I'm not sponsored. But that concludes this week's episode of The Horror Within Me. Welcome back to all my horror fans and friends and family and whatever the fuck you want to call yourselves. I'm so happy to be back, and I hope you're happy to be back with me. Stay safe and stay spooky. Thanks again for joining me on another episode of The Horror Within Me. Please rate and review the show on whatever platform you're listening in from, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to get notified when new episodes drop. I'm also on all major social channels, so be sure to check out my website, www.thehorrorwithinme.com, for all those links. And until next time, my friends, stay spooky.